episode of #MumLife Podcast. You are listening with Kelly and Laura, and we are just two unfiltered mums here to share the raw reality of parenthood because it can be tough. So, Laura, we're here. We are finally doing it.
I cannot believe it. I literally think it's hours and hours of voice notes finally coming to the ears of others.
It really is. I genuinely think these voice notes have got me through the last 10 months. Just because, do you know what? It's been so nice to be able to talk to you, to chat about all like the frustrations, the fails when my child doesn't go down for her nap, or when she wakes up after 30 minutes doing a cat nap, and I haven't even boiled the kettle to have a brew. Do you know what I mean?
I absolutely hear you, and I just love the fact that I can voice note you crying at 8:30 in the morning because my toddler's woken up my newborn and I don't know what to do and I'm just lost the will to live. It's been really good.
It's also, though, as well, I think it's been good to share like the wins, because I feel like you're the only person sometimes that will understand the excitement when I'm like, she's got herself down for her nap by herself. Oh my gosh.
Or it's like, it's been an hour and a half. I've done nothing, but it's been an hour and a half. Because don't you find that as well with their naps? Like you would clock watching all the time. So actually the time when they do a long nap, you actually get nothing done because you're too busy clock watching and looking at the monitor to see if they're awake.
Exactly. I've got a list in my head and I'm like, right, I need to do the washing, I need to do my 15th load of washing, I need to clean the kitchen, I need to do this, that, and then I end up like making a brew and I'm thinking, I just need this moment just to kind of come back to myself and breathe. And then it's like looking at the monitor, and I always find as well I'm constantly looking at the monitor all the time. Like I can't chill, I can't relax.
No, and we've got the setting where like the screen pops up, like lights up when they make a sound or
mine
move.
does that too.
So I don't know why I keep turning it on, because they haven't moved and they haven't made a sound.
Anyway, so many voice notes that we've passed backwards and forwards to each other, and do you know what, we just thought we would share it with all of you, really open up the conversation to the wider population.
Absolutely. And also, like we said, sharing the raw reality of parenthood and becoming first-time mums. And yeah, also sharing, like you said, the wins too.
I think our husbands are quite fed up of our voice notes though.
Oh, Matt gets so annoyed. In fact, should we just share our setups with everybody and then we can talk about how much our husbands hate us? So Cal, what's your setup?
Yes, so I am a first-time mum. I am currently on maternity leave. I have a beautiful daughter called Mila Darcy, and she recently turned 10 months old. Where has my baby gone? Honestly, time has flown. It's actually really, really quite scary. She has more hair than most toddlers and most adults, actually.
Than me at the moment.
To the point where I have to blow dry her hair every single night. I mean, she absolutely hates it, but needs must, honestly.
Oh, bless her.
So she will be going to nursery soon, when just after she turns 1 year old. I am already an emotional wreck thinking about it. I actually feel a little bit sick. I generally think she's going to hate it also, not just me.
She will absolutely love it, and that'll break your heart even more.
She's so like, selective though. She's really selective on who she like warms to and who she likes. But I'm hoping in that environment, yes, it will be kind of an adjustment to begin with, but she'll soon love it and flourish.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I have a husband called Connor. Don't forget that one. I have a wonderful husband. He's a fab father. He is convinced he's never going to be called daddy. It's got to be dad. We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, we'll see. Daddy's little girl.
Yeah, and no, he's absolutely brilliant and besotted by Mila. Absolute wet blanket. What about your setup?
So I am married to Matthew, and he definitely deserves a medal because the ups and downs of having a baby, I'm just a psycho. So he definitely deserves a medal. We have George, who's 2.5, and he is gorgeous. He is intelligent, definitely doesn't get it from me. And he's also going through his terrible twos. So that's really fun to then introduce a new sibling to him, because we also have Isla, who is 4 months old. So we will definitely be talking about this throughout our episodes, sort of the jump from 1 to 2 and how sort of a toddler manages a new sibling. But they're both absolutely gorgeous, and we are very, very lucky and very, very blessed. And I'm currently on maternity leave as well.
And do you know what? Isn't it so nice that we're actually on maternity leave together?
I know. I can't believe that wasn't even planned.
No. Speak to your ovaries. Get ready. No, I mean,
it's really
we've been
good.
friends for years, haven't we? Literally
I think
nearly
it's like
30 years.
That is so disgusting.
And it's been so nice to have you actually experienced mum. I know you probably sometimes don't feel it, but
are you joking? I literally wing it.
Well, we all do, don't we? Let's be honest. We all do.
It is true. And actually, it is just trial and error. Mm-hmm. It is trial and error, because we were saying the other day, George and Isla are so different already. Yeah. Like, she's only 4 months old and she's so different to George already. So what we did with George clearly has already gone out the window with her, because it's not relevant. So yeah, well, we're just ahead.
We're just staying with the one. So Connor's like, absolutely no more.
I can genuinely see why people only stick with one.
Yeah,
100%. The jump from 1 to 2 is crazy. But do you remember when you found out you were pregnant with Mila?
Oh yes, I do. Shall I share my pregnancy little announcement? Find out.
Yeah.
So me and Connor just got married. We were about to move house, so happy. And I basically, looking back, I probably had some really obvious symptoms at the time. But if I'm honest, myself and Connor were absolutely convinced that we were going to struggle to get pregnant. We just drilled it into our heads that we would struggle, it would take us years.
Is that because of your thyroid?
Yes. Yeah. So I got told very early on when I got diagnosed with a thyroid problem. So I've got an autoimmune thyroid disease called Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And a doctor once told me that you'll really struggle to get pregnant. You need to think about freezing your eggs and all this stuff. And I think I got told this when I was, 27, 28? I can't remember. Which obviously was very scary, and you kind of fixate on that. And then I saw another doctor who said, absolute cobblers, like, you'll be absolutely fine. As long as your thyroid levels are stable and we just monitor them, it'll be fine. And, on the honeymoon, having lots of fun, intoxicated, legs up in the air after.
After.
Keep it PG.
Oh my God.
I've gone there already.
Oh, brilliant. We're like 8 minutes. It's all downhill from here, folks.
It is. I'm sorry, Mum. But we were very, very lucky. But we, conceived on the first hit. Didn't really realize it at the time. So on reflection, I felt quite a little bit tired, but I needed to pee all the time. Like, I was like, whoa, I need to pee all the time. My boobs were just huge. Like, Connor was like, woohoo. And I was just like, oh, the pain. They were massive. I actually had to hold them as I got up off the floor. I say floor because we had a mattress on the floor. We were moving house and it all went kind of Pete Tong right at the last minute. And then I remember my sense of smell was so sensitive. So Connor's like aftershave, like he'd only put a little bit on, or he might not have even put any on that day. It was just like on a jumper from the previous day. And I'd be like, God, like it's really strong. And he was like, really? So I took a pregnancy test just for the crack, just to have a look. And it was just before my cycle was due, and it came back negative. So I was like, I can't be pregnant. Like, why am I even taking this? But I'm very on the clock, should we say, in regards to my cycle. So 5 days went over and I was like, this is quite abnormal for me. And then 8 days later, I'm thinking, quite interesting.
I can't believe you waited that long.
I know. Well, I was convinced. I was like, we can't be pregnant. Like, we're not actually actively trying. I hadn't even bought ovulation sticks. I didn't know where I was in my cycle, like nothing. So Connor actually picked up a pregnancy test on the way back home, and I didn't even take the test straight away. I just left it on the side because we were packing. We were meant to be moving the house the next day. And anyway, later that evening, I took the test, and I remember just washing my hands, and suddenly it's just like ping, pregnant, and I was like, no, no way.
Mhm.
To the point where I took, I think, 5 pregnancy tests just to be sure. And they were
In case
very,
it was
very
lying.
strong. Yeah. I was like, cost me a fortune, actually.
Yeah, I
And
bet.
I remember Connor was literally, was like, are you okay, Kelly? You've been in there quite a while. And I just walked out slowly holding the test. And he was like, no, you're having me on. And I was like, take a look for yourself. And he was like, oh, dear Lord. And it was a very bittersweet moment. We didn't very much have the typical social media recording his reaction, jumping for joy, hugging each other, crying with joy, because Connor won't mind me saying this, but at that time we were awaiting some possible like sinister results. He was going through a bit of a health scare, and we were very emotional that day, and that just kind of tipped things over the edge, because the first thing Connor thought of was, oh my gosh, we're going to have a baby, and what if things come back and they're really bad and I'm not going to be here to help you? So kind of you went into that gear of, I'm so afraid, and it was very tearful, but it wasn't probably the tears that I perceived or kind of thought I would have. So luckily everything's fine. Connor was fine. And yeah, he was still afraid, actually, just as afraid. He's like, I'm not ready for this. He was like, we've got a house to renovate. We've just got married. I thought it'd be like at least a year until we conceived. And I was like, look, you know, you can't plan these things. These things happen. It was the next step.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think he wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. We're still not ready, even, and we've got a 10-month-old.
I don't think you're ever ready, are you? Absolutely never ready.
Not. No, absolutely not. So it was one of those that was more of a shock, I suppose. And as I said, it wasn't that lovely social media moment, that TikTok, Instagram reel that people post up, which, you know, I do envy them a little bit, because I never got that. But you know, at the end of the day, we were very grateful and very lucky that it happened so quickly for us, because I appreciate that it can take people a long time, and sometimes it doesn't happen for others. So what about you?
So with George, so we were trying, but not, I think we were only in like our second month, and George was actually my 4th pregnancy. So I'd lost 3 previously. So I actually knew my symptoms. So I knew, same with you, going to the toilet a lot, same painful boobs. And actually my telltale sign was in a meeting at work, and everyone knows the brownies stay by me and I do not share. So they came round and I literally went, oh no, you're all right. And I was like, I know. So in my head, I'm like, I already know. I don't even need to take a test because I've refused a brownie. But it was, I think, a couple of days before I was due on, but we had a friend's 30th. Now, you know those girls. So it was going to be a heavy night. So I said to Matt, I was like, I'm going to have to do a test in the morning, because I can't risk having a really heavy night. If I am, like, it's just not going to sit well with what's happened. So yeah, in the morning I took a test, and like you, washed my hands, boom, it was obvious. So I just went in again. We did have that moment. I went and told Matt, and he got emotional. I was like, oh my God. But because of what had happened, we knew that straight away there was going to be appointments. So, and phone calls that need to be had and things. So we did have that moment for a split second, I think. And then reality kicked in, and it was like, right, we need to do X, Y, Z. So yeah, so that was with George. And with Isla, we, again, similar, had that sort of that moment where it was like, oh my God, because at that point I knew I could do it. I could have a baby. So it was like, yay. But again, I was still under consultants. So it was a mix of both. But with Isla's, I, for some reason, even though, again, same symptoms, needed the toilet a lot, all the same ones as before. So I sort of knew. I was convinced. I said to Matt, I'm going to have to take the test in the middle of the night when I need the toilet. And he's like, why? Like, well, what happens if I don't need the toilet in the morning? You have to do it in the morning. Of course you don't have to do it in the morning. I don't know what I'm about. But I was just convinced. So yeah, it was like gone midnight. I went to the loo, did the test.
Midnight?
Yep. And then on a work night as well. And then obviously it pinged up straight away. So Matt was just like, you're an idiot. I was like, why? It's amazing. He's like, okay, so now you have to go back to sleep and then you've got a full day at work. I was like, oh no. Obviously you're just lying there then, aren't you? Just like, oh my God, like mind just buzzing everywhere. So yeah, similar to you, we didn't have the social media moment. But obviously we're very excited, very blessed. And then, yeah, that's how we found out.
Oh, so how did you find the first trimester?
So we obviously were filled with a lot of anxiety and appointments, but on the whole, I can't really complain in terms of symptoms. And I know you hate me for this. So
I do.
Especially as with George, I had nausea,
Yeah.
mainly just in the morning. And it was just like waves, you know, we just like, ooh, and then it would go.
No, I don't, Laura. I don't know, just nausea.
We don't like a hangover, like, ooh, it was a bit like that. And other than that, in the first trimester with him, the tiredness, like that was a telltale sign for me as well. I just feel like I've been hit by a bus like the whole time. That was really it for the first trimester with George. With Isla, I felt a lot more sick. I'm laughing because I know that he was so sick. But her nausea was constant, if that makes sense. It was all throughout the day. Yeah. And the only way I could get over was to eat like salt and vinegar crisp or something like that to try and like keep it at bay. But again, the same with her, with the tiredness. But other than that, that was really it for the first trimester. I can't really
Pretty glorious
complain.
for you then. Pretty glorious.
Kelly, how was yours?
It was so wonderful, Laura. It was the best time of my life. Absolutely hated it. Oh. And when I mean hate, I really did despise those people that were like, oh my God, I just love being pregnant. Like, I feel amazing. I'm glowing. My hair's wonderful. And I just didn't get it. I couldn't relate that because mine was pretty awful. So yes, I had sickness. I don't call it nausea because it wasn't nausea. It was
no, yours definitely wasn't.
Throwing up. And I mean, I don't know why. I know everyone says I don't know why they call it morning sickness. I don't know why it is because I was throwing up at 2 a.m., 4 p.m., all day, every day. And I can't even remember how many times I threw up on the side of the motorway. And it was one of those, I know, everyone will probably be thinking I've got issues. I remember actually walking into work meeting and no one knew I was pregnant. I just walk in with this massive cucumber. I don't know why. I just wanted hummus and like cucumber. I'm a very odd person that when I'm like hungover, I want hummus and cucumber. It never ever goes down. Always comes back up. Yeah, that was quite funny. But I felt horrendous. And on top of that, my hair literally just started falling out. Now, it was really confusing because, yeah, my first trimester. So nobody could really relate to me on this one because everyone was saying, oh, yeah, Kelly, like your hair falls out, but it's like postpartum. It's not usually in the first trimester. It's usually the other way around. Your hair grows, it's nice and thick and your skin's great. Well, my skin was horrendous. Like I've shown you pictures you probably wouldn't believe at the time. And my hair was falling out in clumps to the point where in my parting, there was like a little bald spot. And I was just so upset. So I was like just really down because nobody could relate to me. And I was thinking then, gosh, you know, is it my thyroid that's tripping out because of hormones? But my thyroid seemed okay. So it was really, really rubbish. And the sickness got so bad that I had to go onto tablets because I just couldn't function. I was okay when I was concentrating. So if I was working, focus on a task, I would be fine. But as soon as I'd literally stand up from my desk, I would be running to the kitchen and I'd throw up in the kitchen sink. Like I couldn't hold it in.
Oh my goodness. So draining as well.
Oh, it was exhausting. And we just moved house. And obviously I'm looking at all these boxes around me and I'm thinking, I envisaged, you know, this renovation house, I'd be cracking on, even like pregnant, like cracking on, painting walls, stripping wallpaper, everything. And I literally just was like curled up on a sofa and I couldn't move. It was like a constant hangover, but I never got that satisfaction after being sick. I didn't be sick and then thought, oh, that's better. Like I just constantly felt it. But I have to say, I was one of the lucky ones that the tablets did work. So as soon as I went on to those, my sickness really became controlled, which was brilliant. I did test it a couple of times and try and come off them. And I thought for 3 days, like, oh God, yeah, this is great. I don't feel it. And then I started and I was like, do you know what? I'm just going to stay on them. I know there's sometimes a bit of stigma or a bit of anxiety around taking tablets, something that's maybe, something artificial when you want to be super healthy when you're pregnant, isn't it? But there was no other option for me. So
yeah,
and
sometimes you've got to do what's right for you. And it's funny you
Yeah.
said that about the not feeling better after, because I always thought when I felt so nauseous with Isla, I was like, I just want to be sick, and I'd try and make myself sick. So I just wanted that feeling to go, but I never was sick actually. And at least you reassured me that
you?
actually.
What a shame. What a shame.
Sorry. I now feel really awkward. Moving on. So your second and third trimesters then. So obviously your first trimester was pretty horrendous for you. How were your second and third trimesters?
So to be fair, first trimester, terrible. Second and third were actually quite glorious. So... So I actually felt really good. Like my energy levels picked up. My hair stopped falling out and was actually really like long and thick, and my skin settled. Like everything just started to balance out. And I don't know whether it's the stem cells, like when the baby's growing and it's suddenly just coming out in my body, but I then started to enjoy being pregnant. And obviously, there's moments then when you start to feel movements, that gave me general anxiety. That was my first introduction to anxiety, the movements, but it was also so lovely to feel her, or, I didn't realize it was a her at the time. So we did end up in triage a couple of times just on fear of movements, because Mila was not a pattern like baby. So, people say feel them every couple of hours or whatever. She was
in the morning or at night. Yeah.
At night time. She could be all over the place. Sometimes wouldn't feel it for hours, but that was very normal for me. At night time was probably the time when she came, a little bit more loud. But it wasn't every night. And it worried me sometimes. And I remember there was a day where I think I went 4 days of complete worry. Like I was inside, I couldn't sleep. I didn't even talk to Connor about it because I was that worried. And I thought to myself, but I don't want to ring triage just in case I'm wasting their time and everything is fine. My tip and advice would be, if you're ever worried, just go and get checked. Like just go down there, and get your movements checked, because
they say that as well.
Yeah, they do. They say like you're never an inconvenience, and I think just with pressures, everything. I just didn't want to waste anyone's time, but I actually suffered for that. So the couple times after I was a little bit dubious of movements, I just rang them and said, "Look, this is how things are. Can I come down and get checked?" And they were amazing. And luckily everything was fine when I went down there. So second was good, and I have to say, before I was pregnant, I was like, oh God, those girls, that are pregnant and they hold their bump in their picture. Like, it's okay, Karen, we know you're pregnant. And then I turned into
guilty.
So
yeah, I did too.
Yeah, and third trimester was, to be fair, it was continued great. And then towards the end, it got really tough from energy point of view. Started getting really tired, and then I had complete insomnia. Like I was awake hours. I probably slept sometimes like 2 hours a night. That was it. And that was really hard because I was still working. I have quite a stressful job. And I was one of those people before. I was like, I'm going to work right until the end, until she pops out.
Oh, I hear you.
Pops out. And no, that didn't happen. I actually went on mat leave a few weeks earlier than initially planned on paper, should we say. But no, I generally felt really good, to the point where I thought I was that cute that one night I thought, do you know what? I'm going to do a bit of self-care. I'm going to do one of them bump masks. Yeah, so I'm lying in bed.
Oh my... mask. Who are you?
Shut up. My friend gave me them, and actually it was quite glorious. I don't think it did anything really, but it felt quite nice. And I put it on, and I was like, it was just looking down. I was lying in bed, and I was like, oh, like this could be like a really cute picture. So I
shut up.
I took the mask off. Actually, I think I took one with the mask and with the mask off, and I was like, took a picture thinking like I'm gonna look super cute, and mate, I look like I look like a rotisserie chicken. I was like, absolute. I looked and I nearly cried. I was laughing to myself. Connor was like, mate, what are you doing? And I was like, was awful. Don't ever take that
bless
picture,
you.
ladies. Not a
Or
good
do
look.
it if you need a laugh.
Yeah, I look back now, I'm like, oh my gosh. And then there was just the swollen feet. So I took the mick out of my friend when she was pregnant. Karma hit me back. Her feet were horrendous. And then when I got to the last couple of weeks, my feet just blew up like sausages. And my hands, actually. I looked at a picture of them the other day and Connor was like, wow. They were bad. I was worried I had preeclampsia, but luckily everything was fine. But yeah, mate, just fat and slow and tired in the end. But kind of went rubbish, good, rubbish.
But I think that's how it's meant to go, isn't it, really? Like the second trimester is meant to be the best one. I know for me, so with George actually and Isla, again, second and third trimesters, I can't really complain. With George, it was the third trimester, really, my skin went really bad, like full on acne with him, and my hair was disgusting, like it's greasy. It was just horrible, literally. So everyone was like,
what a shame.
You're having a girl, because the old wives' tale is that the girl steals your looks or whatever, and we didn't find out. So so we went into lockdown when I was 5 months pregnant.
Yes, of course.
So obviously everyone was working from home. Literally the only exercise I did was to walk from the sofa to the kitchen cupboard and back, or the fridge. So I think that had a massive role to play, like, because I had really bad pelvic pain as well with George. I just thought, like, I'd do a bit of exercise, like a bit of a walk, and then that was sort of it. And I worked right up until his due date, because we were working from home, so I could. And he was a week late anyway, and it was absolutely fine. So then with Isla, obviously second trimester, glorious, and different completely in terms of my skin was the clearest it had ever been, and my hair was great. It looked thick, so I really had that glow, and everyone was like, oh, you're definitely having a boy because of this. And I was like, well, it's funny you say that, because it was the complete opposite. So completely went against the old wives' tale. And I stupidly thought, well, I worked up to the due date with George, so I might not go up to the due date with Isla, but I'll go 38 weeks because he was 41. So my job isn't just a sitting down desk job. It is, it's unpredictable at times, and I'm on my feet at times. And my sciatica and my pelvic pain, I've still got it. Whereas with George, as soon as I gave birth, it sort of all disappeared.
You still got it
with
now?
Isla, it catches my breath sometimes. It's It's really bad. Yeah. So with Isla, I had it from 6 weeks pregnant. I'm sleeping with a pillow between my knees straight away because it's just that bad. And I would wake up and like my leg would be numb down one side, and I'd have no feeling in my leg for ages, or in my lower back, or like my bum or anything like that. And then that got progressively worse. So there I was, like, waddling around work at 38 weeks pregnant. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm in so much pain. Like, having to, something would happen. They'd be like, Laura, can you go check that out? I'm like, oh, give me a second. So I actually went on mat leave a day early.
Because you did pretty well then.
I was just so stubborn and determined. It's actually my mate that came in and was like, what are you still doing here? No one is going to thank you for being here when you go into labour. Because I had Braxton Hicks with both as well. So literally it was like, just, can you do one? No one wants this happening here. So yeah, but to be honest, apart from that, they weren't really that bad at all, to be honest. So yeah, same with you. Second trimester felt really good, but the tiredness then hit third trimester. But with Isla, it was, I think, the tiredness. I've been like lured into a false sense of security with George's pregnancy because we were in lockdown, because it wasn't real work, and we didn't have any other children. It was literally, I was living my best life.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh yes, it'll be the same here. No, because with a full-time job and a toddler and being huge, it got to the point I just said to Maz, I just can't do it anymore. He's like, well, you have to for another few weeks. Like, there's not really anything I could do. So yeah, it was definitely, I found that third trimester really, really hard with Isla in comparison. But I think that was definitely more circumstance than anything else. But other than that, movement, I was really lucky. I felt them both move all the time, and like
Yeah.
at night they would absolutely have a party. A couple with George, but I did the have a glass of water and lie on your side and lie there for an hour if you don't feel anything. The cold water's meant to like get them
Really?
moving.
I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how much it worked for me. I don't know if it worked for him, but that's a little tip. So you lie on your left side, have a glass of cold water, and just see if that gets some movement going. And that did whenever I had a bit of a worry.
Mine was more
Isla,
if I'd eaten something. Like then I'd
oh
then
yeah,
she'd be like,
yeah.
Yoo-hoo.
Same.
Yeah.
Well, Isla is just constant. It's constant movement all the time. Yeah, which was really reassuring.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I was quite lucky with her. I didn't have any of those sort of. I haven't felt her moments.
Isn't it mad then how different already like our pregnancies are? Like you had lots of movement. I had hardly any movement. Awful trimester in like the first trimester. You had a little bit of nausea.
Hey, it was really bad.
But some women literally sail through pregnancy, don't they? And others really struggle. I mean, you talk about obviously pelvic pain and things, and some people end up on crutches and really struggle. So I can't even imagine. Like I couldn't imagine of being pregnant and having like you a toddler to manage at the same time. Like I could be selfish if I didn't want to do something. I had that ability to be lazy basically and just like
that
sit
is
on the couch after work and be like.
Yeah, literally. So I was having to like time naps, especially in that first trimester and the third. So luckily George was still having his nap like at the weekends and school holidays. So I was like, whenever he was going down for a nap, I was like, right, I'm down. Like I'm taking this time as well because I am exhausted. But it was interesting with the back pain. I spoke to the midwife about it because I thought I might actually have to end up on crutches with Isla, but it got to a point it was so bad. And I spoke to my midwife and I said about exercise. And I said, because I did a pregnancy workout, so I always obviously been into fitness. So I did like a pregnancy workout and I was on the sofa in agony afterwards, like crying. It was that painful. So my next midwife appointment, I said, look, I want to keep moving because I piled it on with George and I did not want to do that again. So I was like, I need to keep moving. But I was like, I've tried just doing my normal workouts. I was in agony. I've tried yoga in agony, walking, even if I walk too far, that really hurts. And the whole time I was like, yeah, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. I was like, swimming? No. And I was trying to go through any different exercises and think of, no. I was like, what can I do? Just walk, but if it hurts, stop.
Oh, useful.
Like, oh, great. So that's literally all I could do, really. I don't know if that's the advice anyone else has had.
Me. Shame we didn't know physio. On tap here.
I don't want to pester you about stuff like that. And actually, because I was at work, I was still doing over 10,000 steps a day. Crikey. Right up until the end.
Probably doing that a little bit too much. Just topped you over, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I should have definitely finished earlier and actually listen to your body when it comes to third trimester. That's another tip because I should have slowed down. I should have stopped. We thought I was going into labour about 36 weeks because just the pains and stuff I was getting, but it's because I didn't stop. So
you also go into that
to your body.
nesting, don't you? You go into that nesting kind of, right, I need to have everything. Like I was like, the cupboards need to be perfect, cleaned, every inch of the house, like spotless. You know, like your baby's going to come out and be like, yo, mum, you haven't dusted the telly over there or something. Or your cupboards are all unorganised.
Matt's now like, oh, remember when you were in that mode? Yeah, it's really good. Because clearly now I'm not. So
do you know what?
There we are.
I've just remembered something. You know when you were pregnant with Isla? I knew you were pregnant before you told me.
What do you mean? What do you mean you knew I was pregnant?
Yeah. So, remember my baby shower?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Actually, like
glorious.
A year ago.
Yeah,
so the girls put on a beautiful baby shower for me, lovely afternoon tea. So the waitress is coming round and taking everyone's order and going, what would you like to drink? And obviously, like, I chose not to drink any caffeine during pregnancy. And I know they advise, limited caffeine, and some people opt not to have any at all, don't they? So this waitress is taking everybody's order, gets to you, and you're like, I'll have decaf, please. And I'm like,
oh,
inside I was like, she's pregnant. And I was like, I didn't obviously say anything, but I was like, OMG, Laura is pregnant.
Yeah, but your friend opposite me also ordered decaf tea. So that she ordered first and she went decaf, and I was like, oh, this is great because I'm just going to go, oh, yeah, I love decaf as well. Great idea. So,
Yes, she did, Laura. Because she was
oh my gosh.
pregnant.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, literally.
Oh.
And I just knew. And actually, one of my friends said to me, Laura's ordered decaf. I wonder if she's pregnant. And obviously, I think this was after you had told me. I remember when you texted me and you were like, I've got something to tell you. I was like, I've been waiting for this for months. But I didn't say anything to you. But she was like, she like just knew it as well. She clocked on stuff like that. So,
do you know what? Right, okay, if anyone takes anything from this podcast, don't order decaf tea in front of people because clearly it's a telltale sign. But interestingly enough, my mother-in-law and one of my other friends said the same thing. So when I said to them, oh, have you got decaf? They just knew straight away. Yeah, because I love tea. Like, I drink so much tea. But one, the caffeine, so I didn't during pregnancy. But also, I went off it. It was too strong for me, like normal tea. It was like, oh,
I'm a caffeine addict, and I went off tea. I tried decaf tea, but I mean, it's not the same. Anybody that says decaf coffee and tea is the same, it isn't. It does not taste the same. No. So, but yeah, I knew. I can't
believe that because at your baby shower, I was only 6 weeks, so we made the decision not to tell anyone bar parents, obviously, until 12 weeks for obvious reason. So I found it really difficult, obviously, because loads of people in that environment as well. I was like, oh, you're going to have another? And I was
yes, because they asked you and you were like, I don't think so. We're not sure. Like, give it a few more years. And I'm there like, yeah, you're lying.
Yeah. You're not just bloated, girl.
I mean, you wouldn't know physically at all.
I mean, I was in maternity clothes at 8 weeks with her.
I'm still in them now. 10 months space, baby. So comfortable.
Oh, I hear you. Absolutely. That is hilarious. I can't believe you knew. I cannot believe that. Mm-hmm. You know, you think you're being really sneaky as well, because I was trying to limit how often I went to the loo. I was like desperate for the loo the whole time in your baby shower. But I was like, if I go 4 times, people are going to know. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Sake.
There we go.
Oh God. When I told you, you must have been like, yeah, all right, mate. No.
I was like, I already knew this. Oh dear.
Amazing. Love that. Absolutely love it. Well, shall we go on to some questions that we have from our lovely Instagram followers? And actually, while we're on the topic, we had one question that was about cravings. So did you have any cravings during pregnancy?
Did I have any cravings? Do you know what? I always said during my pregnancy, no, I had not really any cravings because I felt so sick. I just felt like I was on a constant hangover. And when I am hungover or was hungover, I would just want like fruit flavored things, like a Fanta, like anything orange flavored. So I did like lots of oranges. My diet literally consisted of oranges, I think jelly, cheese, and malwams. And I was so worried because I was that person. I was like, I'm gonna have a smoothie every morning. I'm gonna put so much goodness in my body. And I literally had the worst diet. I just ate like to survive. Honestly, it was that. Even after the sickness was controlled, I wasn't that great. But I stopped. It was like sweets. I needed like sweets, and I'm not a sweet person, as in like, you know, like hard sweets and stuff like that. So it was oranges. And actually, one of my friends was like, oh, you really like oranges. You're going to have a boy. And I was like, oh, really? Well, obviously not. Because Mia is definitely a girl.
I've never heard that with oranges.
No. So, yeah, another old wives' tale. But yeah, cravings, I think it was, went off tea and caffeine, as you said. But cravings, it was more sweet, just hard sweets, malwams, all that stuff. Nothing really else, to be honest.
Oh, fair enough.
What about you?
Fair enough. Well, with George, I really had cravings for, you know, seaweed that you get from the Chinese.
Oh, the crispy stuff.
Yeah. I could not get enough. Literally, what is it? Cabbage? I don't even know what it is. Salty cabbage. Could not get enough of that. And then I'd make Matt roast a chicken just so I could eat the skin.
A rotisserie chicken?
Oh my God, I can never eat one again. Yeah, literally. So I would just eat the skin off that. So I guess my cravings with George were just greasy, fat, salty stuff. with Isla, it was sweet things actually. So I should have guessed really, but I didn't. So Weetabix with loads of sugar on. Couldn't get enough of that. And white chocolate. And I really crave like. So we'll be right back, guys. It's going to go to the cupboard.
Quick snack.
And then I really crave. Do you remember those Willy Wonka nerds in like the purple and pink box?
The purple one, yeah.
Yeah. Just really, I remember one day in particular, really craving those. Just really crave the sour taste.
Yeah.
And I just thought, if I see anyone with them, I'm just going to confiscate them and just eat them. And then remember that they're like from the 90s, so nobody in this day and age is going to have any on them. So yeah, just that I just really wanted the sour taste. Really, with,
do you know what you say as well? Fatty like foods. I don't think I've ever had so many McDonald's in my life, to the point where we would drive at 9 o'clock at night down to McDonald's and get a McDonald's and like McFlurry, the whole shebang. And I would never, wouldn't I wouldn't really be bothered about McDonald's. Really, I'd have one like I don't know, probably a couple times a year, if that. But yeah, I lost count of how many times. And I remember being in the car and going to Connor, I'm gonna miss this when we can just jump in the car at 9 o'clock at night and just go and get a Mackey's.
That's it.
Enjoy it while it lasts, because you can't do that when you have a child.
No, definitely
it's okay
not.
though. Deliveroo is always here to rescue us.
Is your saviour. Okay, next question. What did you enjoy most about being pregnant?
Well, let's just move past trimester 1. So do you know what? Actually, the thing I loved most about being pregnant was how people treated me. Like, people treated me like I was a princess. I'm not even lying. Like, people would open doors for me. I remember going to Dunelm and purchasing like a new bin, Joy. And I'm there and I was probably about 38 weeks pregnant, and I'm just lifting this bin, or trying to, like, to my car. And I remember just putting down, being like, I'm just going to take a minute. And this lovely man came up to me, and he was probably in his 60s or something. He was like, would you like some help? And I was like, no, it's okay, I got this. And he was like, I think I should help you. I was like, my car's over there. He was like, let me. I was like, okay then. It was so nice.
So cute.
But yeah, I remember being as well, I was shopping once, because I loved to do that before I had a child. And I met, one of those like Dyson areas when they sell Dysons. This lady was like, come here, like, oh my god, you're pregnant, like, super excited for me. She's like, let me do your hair, like, let me just do all your hair. And she was only meant to do like the front, just to show me what the Dyson does, and ended up doing my whole head, because she's like, you deserve this. And I was like, oh my god, thank you so much, like, love you. And like, people would give me free testers or put some extra stuff in. I got some lovely stuff from Selfridges just thrown at me, and I got treated so well.
I'm absolutely fuming about that.
I miss it.
Like, lockdown 1, so didn't see anyone from 5 months, and then well, it's probably because I always had George in tow, so I had a screaming toddler. People probably just looked at me like, oh,
she's doing it again.
She's stupid enough to do it again. Serves her right.
No, to the point where actually it sounds awful, but I generally think I felt people were more excited than I was, and that's a horrible thing to say, maybe, but because I still couldn't see her or meet her.
But you've also got nerves and anxiety and everything mixed in there, whereas they're just pure excitement because they know that they're not going to have to go through it.
Yeah, I know. And then nobody talks to you when you have the child.
See ya.
Nobody cares. No, everyone was like, come back and see us. Like, honestly, everyone was lovely. I've gone back and nobody remembers me.
Where's all my free testers and my hair?
So yeah, what about you then?
I think for me, because I've got like a fitness background, and with our dance background as well, I think everything is so on body image and how you look, and just what you look like. I really enjoyed, probably too much with being pregnant with George, just watching my body change and going with that, and just letting it change, and not being like, oh my god, now I can't do this, and I can't do this, and I can't do this, or I can't fit into this. I just went with it, and I just fully just embraced it, and I was absolutely huge. Well, I was huge with both of them, but George was a huge baby, so I was absolutely massive. But I just embraced it. I just loved it. I love that my body could do it and was doing it. And I was almost like in awe of it. Like I couldn't believe it. You know, you take those bump pictures. Like I took the ones every few weeks. I'd look and be like, God, I've done that in like 3 weeks. The difference is just
it's pretty amazing, isn't it? It is amazing what our bodies go through. And I actually didn't appreciate my body like you did until I think I was overdue, and it was literally like I took a picture. I just saw myself in the mirror and I thought, oh my goodness, wow. Like it took me over 9 months, or probably nearly 10 months, isn't it, to really appreciate what my body was going through. And that is the only point where I actually started to love my body at being pregnant at that point. So it's a really good mindset to have, though.
Yeah, when you're, but obviously the first trimester and some of the second, obviously you don't really have that bump, do you? So it still doesn't feel that real, and it doesn't. But yes, obviously as soon as that's there, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Although Matt would tell you different. I remember vividly this one time I was getting ready for work. This was pregnant with George, and I was tired, emotional, and I put on, I think it was just like this long shirt thing to wear with leggings, and I put it on. And I was getting ready, and he came into the bedroom, and I was like, I saw his face. He's like, oh. I was like, what do you mean? Oh. He was like, just doesn't really fit properly, does it?
Oh, like, Matthew.
So, what do you mean? It's not one of your maternity ones, is it? It's like, go on, put something. It's probably not going to be comfortable. And I'm sat there. I slumped on the bed, obviously, like buttons bursting, like, crying that I just couldn't fit in this stuff. But I think it was that I was just like, I need to go with this, and I need to just embrace it, because why not? This is absolutely amazing. And there was another time, actually, I think when you said about the ankles, so we were going out, and I wanted, like, it was the summer, and I wanted just some sandals on with this dress. So I said to him, oh, can you just do my sandals up for me? And he's like, yeah, because I couldn't bend down at that point. And I could just feel him like tugging at my foot. And I was like, what are you doing? Just do them up. And he's like, yeah. And inside, I now know he was like dying. How do I tell her I cannot get these round her ankles because they're so swollen?
Why did you even try?
Because I'm just in denial. And then it was when he looked at me and went, you need to go for the flip-flops. I was like, yeah, I've made it.
Is Matthew still alive? I was like,
Only
run, mate, run.
Well, I could have said that, and he'd be like, well, you ain't catching me anytime soon. So
True. No, I'll top you on that one in regards to sliders were my best friend, and Connor's like offended by sliders, especially if you're anybody that wears socks and sliders. Like, he's not talking to you, and he would literally look at me at disgust. He tripped over them once, and he was like, goddamn sliders, let's throw them in the bin. Yeah, that's all I could have fit into. I even couldn't fit into those at the end. And I was like, mate, give me a break. I'm growing a human here. I've got fat feet, fat hands. Leave me alone.
Well, that was actually with George. I had to take my rings off, like really, probably about 7 months, I reckon, with George. I had to take them off, and then I couldn't get them back on for a good month or two after having him. But with Isla, I wore them the whole time, never had to take them off.
That's odd, isn't it? I had to take mine off.
It's so weird. Yeah.
My fingers really badly swelled, to the point where I was getting joint pain. So I'd wake in the morning and I'd be in pain. I couldn't even bend my fingers. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, like it would take ages for them to like loosen up a little bit. So I took mine off, and I've got them back on now, but I can't take them off because just got fat fingers from eating crap, really. So I bought some apple mode. So
right, so we like to, we want to end each episode, and when we have guests on, we'll be asking them this sort of question as well, depending on the topic. But for this episode, I'm going to ask you, Kel, if you could give one piece of advice to a parent or to anyone thinking of becoming a parent, what would it be?
Oh God, probably so many things I've learnt over time, over these 10 months. But
it's hard, isn't it? That question.
Yeah, it's hard to give one tip of advice. Do you know what? The one thing I really would advise is really, really enjoy every moment of those contact naps. Do you know what? I look back now, and at the time, I felt this pressure that if Mila was sleeping on me, that I was failing as a mum because she should be in her own little snooze pod or cot or whatever. And people kept saying, no, she needs to learn to self-soothe Kelly. So if you keep sleeping with her on you, if that's how she's doing a nap, she'll never learn and she'll get that separation anxiety, etc. And actually, do you know what? She never got that so far, or we're still early days. She does sleep in her cot now, but I actually regret probably not soaking those moments up because I just miss them. I really miss them now because she's like independent with her naps. And if I ever do get an opportunity, because sometimes when they're going through a regression or whatever, and you have to rock them a little bit, I've definitely held on to her for much longer. Like she's fallen asleep and probably I'm there for another half an hour just going, I miss it. I do. So what I'd say is don't be in a rush to get rid of that contact. Enjoy it. Enjoy every single moment of it because you will miss it, and I miss it.
That is so true, because I remember reading something that was said, they'll be the last time that you need to rock them to sleep.
Yeah.
And honestly, it breaks my heart because we haven't had to rock George to sleep I can't even remember the last time we did. And I read that and I was like, I don't do that with George anymore. And it just breaks, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need to be rocked to sleep. And it just absolutely broke my heart. So yeah, when we had Isla, she would always have like a little cat nap around sort of 7-8 o'clock before we then went up for her sort of final feed before bed. And just for the first couple of months, she just had it on me. And Matt would always be like, do you want to put her down? I'd be like, no, I'm all right. And I would and there's sometimes in the afternoon as well, when it was just me and her, she would do the same. She'd fall asleep and I'd be like, oh no, I need to stay here. Watch TV with her on me. Yeah.
No, it is. I generally do. I do miss it. I think though, because, and we'll go into this in future episodes, but because Mila was quite a colicky baby and she struggled with wind, so she liked to be on her front and upright. So I think I had that drilled into my mind with quite a negative experience, because there's the only way that she would be comfortable and stop crying, bless her little heart. But yeah, that's my tip. In summary, enjoy every contact nap. Don't be in a rush to stop those. And take it all in.
Love it. That is a really good piece of advice.
What's yours?
I think for me, it would be read everything that you want to read all of the information, but take it all with a pinch of salt. Because there is no baby that is a textbook baby, as I call it. So in terms of milestones, in terms of sleeping, feeding, there isn't a baby that fits all the boxes. So I love reading about, development and things like that. I read all the time about it. But I almost put pressure on myself because George didn't tick those milestone boxes at the right time. I know we'll talk about this as an episode. So it was almost like, well, the book says that he should be doing this and he's not. And the book says he should be eating this much and he's not. Or he should be sleeping this much and he's not. And it was just like, why? Why am I doing that? What you need to do is read that and be like, okay, generally he should be doing this. But he's not. And that's okay because he'll do it in his own time. Or actually he's doing this. And the book says he shouldn't do that for another few months. So it's just, take all the information with a bit of a pinch of salt, really. And don't put pressure on yourself to tick all those boxes. Just enjoy your baby as they are, because they'll do everything in their own time when they're ready, and just go with it.
No, I think that's a really good tip. And it's not to don't overread as well, isn't it? Because I remember I would be reading at 3 o'clock in the morning. Why is my baby not sleeping? I at one point had 500 tabs open on my iPhone, to the point where psycho. To the point where I actually couldn't open. That is the maximum. If anybody wants to know, you can't open any more than 500 tabs on your iPhone. Oh gosh, yeah. So, and I just got myself in a right kind of tears with it. So, yeah, no, I think that's really good advice.
Absolutely. So, well, I guess that's all for our first episode. So thank you so much for listening to our first episode of the #MumLife podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, make sure you follow us on our Instagram at MumLife podcast. Drop us a DM. We love to hear from you as well, and what you're going through, your experiences. We will hopefully be bringing guests on to have a little chat with us and share their journeys as well.
Take care.
Bye.